we gotta stop the creatives doing that targeting. So you can have the best creative in the world, replicated too many times, fail. In a ad set with too much bottom of the funnel, fail. Too many versions of that creative, fail. Like, this is getting so finicky and touchy that it is, unless you have one campaign, one asset, all creative, it starts to work against itself. It starts to implode upon itself. So it's definitely an oddity to see how much this is shifting directions from our inclusions, our exclusions, we're basically just turned upside down, and now creative is 100% of the battle.
So I wonder if, since it's building off of, specific value props and specific people that are interested in that value prop, and then stories around that, like full funnels around that, I wonder if it makes sense to have multiple, I guess you can say, Andromeda campaigns, but with completely different value props and stories, right? So like one, for example, the glove, I don't know, I'll make up in my head. Like one will be around the one we just saw, which would be the value prop like durability, right? And then that's like one value prop, and that's sort of staying within that one campaign or one ad set. And then you're going after a specific ICP and trying to educate them about that. And then another one maybe is on like safety, someone that's more worried about like, okay, I need to make sure that this product is safe because I don't know, I'm going to hire a bunch of people or whatever the case is. Don't have any liability problems there. And so it's a different ICP. And I wonder if the structure is going to be more geared towards building, like you said, around creative, but storytelling, and having that be segmented out so that you can have 50 creative over here for this ICP, 50 over here, and 50 over here. And it's all driven from the value prop, not the audiences.
Yeah,
I wonder, that's something I want to test.
And that's actually what's interesting is if you are launching those with new creatives, like that kind of thing, I would say yes. And doing like kind of a fresh rebuild. What we have been actually seeing, and we've actually had to we actually had to reduce down. This is my own personal brand of Pet Wellness Direct Company, and my business partner and I have had some disagreements for the last probably few weeks. I set kind of an approach. He expanded on that approach a little bit too much, in my opinion, and then kind of just ran with it, getting frustrated with brute force. It was just like, why isn't this working? I'm like, we got to change. It's like, no. And so whatever. So we ended up having a kind of a slight issue, and it actually had to do with too much creative and too much overlap. So these were, so many different campaigns. Last 30 days, we spent almost a $250,000. And when we're looking at our cost per results, this is, getting into like the 350s, 308, 139. The problem is, though, we had a lot of just, returning or existing customer traffic that it was, 13 sales, 4 new. Like, it was just going after way too many people, getting half CPA with like insane, 6 sales, 3 new customers. But those 6 sales, or the joint sales, cost us, $418 each. Not even new customers. I mean, getting insane CPAs that were way too high. We want to be like under 300 as much as possible, and these were pushing some 4, 5, and 600.
Side note on that as well too. Just thought of this. I want to say before I forget. Have you tried a sale where you have like a gift sale where it's like buy one get one gifted before? Okay, how does that work?
Not a sale like we did, like a 50% off, which is kind of like a buy one get one if you think about it.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, it works unbelievable for both new and returning traffic, but those things suck up all of your ad spend.
Yeah,
when
I'm wondering if dog lovers kind of thing that would work for that. But
and that's what's weird is running it from a different campaign. Fantastic performance, low ad spend. Never really earned as much ad spend. So the creative is doing the targeting almost like an account level, regardless of campaign. So that's where we said, okay, well, let's test this. And because we had a lot of creative, and this is the amount spent here, like the 20th, we ended up just pausing this here on July 2nd. But since July 2nd, compared to the previous period, we've been seeing now that all of a sudden results are like, 37% more purchases, 112% more purchases, 115% more purchases. After shutting everything off, all of a sudden now the consolidated content, because that content was replicated so much, it was like, we're going to try to sell joint medication to new customers, run this ad. We're going to try to sell joint medication to returning customers, same ad. We're trying to sell joint medication just to everyone, same ad. Everyone's trying to do, the immune, but immune also sells joint, so same ad. Like, that's where all of a sudden it was like, now we're getting into the area where we had so much budget being stretched for the same ad that no one could essentially lock onto our target. And this was
Let me do the full screen.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, it looks really bad, but we went from 4,400 to 4,200. It, it looks like, but we lost 200, customers. And then this was our change here, July 2nd. This is when July 2nd, we stopped like just basically every other campaign and launched our new ones as well. I don't even know. Oh, wait, that's because these things are off. 14 days, no comparison. So we ended up shutting off like basically probably $100,000 worth of campaigns on July 2nd. Now, July 2nd is just hit the ground, 4,200. We stopped the bleed, and now we're heading back up. So now we're towards heading our subscribers back up from the 2nd to the 7th compared to previous period. Now we're okay, good. Now we're actually starting to see new customers or returning customer rate decrease, orders start to increase. Facebook shows 82% more sales. Like, Facebook also has 162% more sessions. I don't know how, because we shut off half our campaigns, 3/4 of our campaigns, and increased our sessions by 162%. Like, as soon as we start consolidating again, like I've been teaching everyone here for like the last month in this consolidation, everything's starting to get better. So it is a odd phenomenon that with creative doing the targeting, you're essentially saying like, hey, I have the same keyword replicated 15 times. No wonder your keyword's doing the targeting, right? Because that's who's inbound targeting. But if you have 15 campaigns with the same keyword, what wins? Nothing.
Yeah. The same keyword.
Yeah, that one keyword in one campaign does pretty good, but it doesn't ever optimize because it can't crowdsource all the information into an optimization of that one specific keyword or ad or creative or campaign or ad set or ad group or whatever. So when we're looking at this is a large hurdle, especially for media buyers, but more so for clients, where it's like, I've been doing it this way for 8 years, John. It's like, yes, but like we gotta stop the creatives doing that targeting. So you can have the best creative in the world, replicated too many times, fail. In a ad set with too much bottom of the funnel, fail. Too many versions of that creative, fail. Like, this is getting so finicky and touchy that it is, unless you have one campaign, one asset, all creative, it starts to work against itself. It starts to implode upon itself. So it's definitely an oddity to see how much this is shifting directions from our inclusions, our exclusions, we're basically just turned upside down, and now creative is 100% of the battle.
Like, if you're just media buying on one channel, then it's kind of like, okay, like you need to have more context of everything going on, or else you're not going to be able to make a decision.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's not about platform, which we already know, but it's just one of those things where like, yeah, you don't know if like they're pushing certain content on, Google, and that's affecting Facebook's, attribution. And then on top of that, like what type of creative is going to drive more new customers, because that's going to be your targeting. So yeah, like you said, the three different points I think are really important, and obviously tracking the P&L. So it seems like media buyers are now becoming more, and we've said this for years now, but CMOs, like mini CMOs or creative designers, whatever you want to call it, and just more like a manager per se.
It really is. I mean, we're coming into the timeline where the technical media buying in Meta is gone. And the technical media buying means, targeting, inclusions, exclusions, funnel development, been there, did this, now do that, now do this. If you're this, then that, if you're that, then this. Like, cross sells, upsells, like that is way harder now. I understand why Meta is doing it. They need to do it. Otherwise, Meta was going to implode as a platform, and TikTok will just take over them. But it's our job to get really good at this now, and be the best at it. And that's what we're testing, and that's what we're finding. That's why we have so many tests running at the same time. That's why you're all here, is to try to get like the most up-to-date information about what's going on across the board as much as possible. But I do think that there is an omni-channel, kind of overlap that also happens even inside of Google. And I'm seeing it now more and more and more. What's interesting is, for the Google people out there, this is going to kind of make you throw up a bit, and it should. And hopefully you're like, oh no, I know this happens, so I'm not going to throw up. But I wanted to kind of share a use case from this week here that I thought was quite interesting. And this is one of my existing clients, yada, yada, yada. Watch this. So we can see, obviously, good performance coming in on the 3rd of July. Now, when I spoke to this client, it was actually on Wednesday. Well, kind of like Wednesday, Thursdays, like kind of in that date range there. So if we look at, kind of the week before the 4th of July compared to the previous period, what we started to see was actually some, oh, that's a year. I'm like, where's the previous period?
Oh God, I
There we
already
go.
see the pain in my in my eyes. I'm feeling it.
Oh, what's
Multiple
funny?
Performance Max campaigns.
Well, what's funny is this is actually kind of by design. We're still on feeder strategy, where it was like a PMax here and a PMax washing tabs here, and then we just had a PMax all products. So this is dogpile. So dogpile and feeder at the same time, and
Why,
spent.
John? Why? Why all
Well,
the PMaxes?
check this out. This is what's crazy. So the PMax was always because we were spending heavy on meta, and we
Gotcha.
needed to have kind of
Bottom funnel.
kind of push into cold traffic, but with our standard shopping. Even with PMax, PMax obviously like washing tabs, 571% more cost, 3,000% more conversions. And then obviously it just went even crazier during like the 4th of July. But what was interesting is even pre-sale, that it's like 1,200% more conversions. But this part here, this PMax feeder tab, pre 4th of July sale, 27th to 3rd. This here, the washer tabs PMax, and we look at the search terms. And we start to look at the conversions. Let me ask you this: why did this spend 81% more, get a conversion rate 60% more, and 110% more clicks for washing machine cleaner, and just jump 232 conversions and drop their CPA by 45%?
100% warm traffic, or warmed up traffic, or demand that just got created, which is still technically warm traffic.
This is actually right after we switched over to the Andromeda model in Meta. I was literally the only change. This is still this is actually now post sale, but we started to see some really good performance inside of Google. This is a day before our sale. So all of a sudden Google's like, yep, here's 100% more spend going into here and 20% more spend. And it's like, I didn't have anybody before. I went from 18 to 34. My conversion rate stayed the same. My spend just jumped out of nowhere. I'm still using TROAS targets. My TROAS is actually, I think, at the ad group level, or not the ad group level. I think it's set at the campaign level. We're spending $400 a day. TROAS target of 120. Higher TROAS target than I normally would use, right? Usually I'm like 40 and 60. This is a really cheap product. It's like $16. So I'm like, let's just not throw the baby out with the bathwater, and let's make sure that we're not just hemorrhaging cash. But it went from like 0 to 14%, 0 to 48% conversion rate, 6 to 10, 6 to 9, 0 to 100, 0 to 16. Why the hell are we seeing 2 clicks go down to 1 and then no sale go to 1?
Yeah, I mean, it has to be warm. I mean, am I wrong in saying that?
You're 100% right, and that's why I said this should make the Google team or the Google media buyers like kind of throw up in their mouth a little bit, that Meta is heavily influencing the amount of warm traffic that a non-brand inbound standard shopping targets. So there's no reason why a singular channel of shopping that is also non-brand to see random spikes of crazy good performance because of what Meta did. That was a PMax thing. That was a demand gen thing. That was a brand thing. That wasn't a non-brand inbound standard shopping. That was supposed to be isolated. That was supposed to be protected. You'll see something like Pro. Wow, that looks like more like the name of our product, actually. Same result.
Yeah.
So what Google is doing is saying, okay, I know the people that are been on our website. And as soon as those people start to search for 20% more impressions, I'm gonna get 110% more clicks. Like, how do you get that many more clicks off of that many more impressions? Your click-through rate go up 76%, but your CPC drop down 13%.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing here is Google targeting your own traffic outside of the cold traffic. So rather than Google saying, hey, you get to earn cold traffic, it's now, hey, you get to spend more when we know that we can hit that result based on who is on your website, which is actually, when we go into our paint, your cloud here, and I'm just going to use this cloud here because that kind of looks mostly like a cloud. Your demand gen, your PMax, your YouTube, which is now demand gen, and even now inbound non-brand standard shopping. All of those here are targeting who's in here. So you have all of these sources. You have organic, direct, email, all of these warm traffic too, but you have Meta, you have TikTok, you have Instagram, you have Pinterest, you have whatever it is. And now you have Google's inbound standard shopping on
cold as well. Cold terms.
Exactly. Cold terms, which is the inbound, also non-brand, is saying, okay, yes, but there's a whole bunch of gold nuggets that are just kind of sitting over here. This is, I would just call that gold color because yellow won't show up. And it says, I'm going to go ahead and target these people first. And then after that, I will go expand out. So as Meta says, hey, we have a whole bunch of warm traffic that are, cold traffic coming in. They're adding to carts. They're looking around. They're staying 2, 3, 4 minutes. They've been here 3 times. Google's like, cool, I see them. And as soon as they search, I don't even have to spend as much. I'll earn the placement because Google knows who's been to your website based on tags. So you have first right of refusal, which is why the feeder strategy was built anyway. But now it's actually grown omni-channel. So feeder strategy is taking in people from not only its own traffic sources, but other traffic sources in order to go after it. And that's actually affecting our inbound non-brand standard shopping too. So your Meta campaign has a massive influence on your inbound non-brand standard shopping, where if Meta sucks, you could have a shitty standard shopping. Meta crushes it, you could have amazing standard shopping. They are overlapping so much that this has become omni-channel, whether you like it or not.
Now, the question I posed to this, and this might be a future test, is I know that in the last live that we did, we talked about how Performance Max and Demand Gen, even if we were optimizing towards CAPI imports, was still going to go after warm users and reattribute it after the fact, not pre the fact of it, just because Google, from what it looks like, can't really match users as well as Meta can. Now,
right.
I wonder if the same story is happening in this scenario, because it's the same, essentially the same matching. You're not really changing the matching; you're just changing the engine. So I wonder if Google Shopping, if it were to only push for CAPI imports, has this same sort of effect to a pretty large degree.
It does a bit, but it's not as affected. So what's interesting is before I want to do maybe, is there Q&A? In a way,
we have some questions. Yeah, we can jump to it in like a couple minutes.
Yeah, we'll do that Q&A. So I want to get at least some questions before tomorrow. But yes, it is true. The one thing that you have to measure is the total amount influenced by Meta. The bad part is Meta's clicks are only going to be 1 to 2% of all influenced. Influence traffic can still come in through direct, through organic through email.
Yeah. There's the impressions of seeing it on Meta. Yeah.
Going over to Amazon, then finding, there's so many sources that this is being affected by. So the problem is that I've seen on YouTube or in standard shopping is you can push past it, but you have to spend past the cloud. That's when it starts to actually go more cold. And I've seen this time and time again, where now that I'm heavily involved in the last few years of omni-channel, as soon as they start to make a push on Meta, I'm like, here comes my non-brand standard shopping looking really good this week. All of a sudden, boop, it happens every single time, to sometimes a very large degree. So you can manipulate this a bit, and you can show that Google will have a better match rate of Google traffic than it will Meta traffic. But Google is $5 for one user. Meta is $5 to influence 500 people if you have a $10 CPM. So you still have that like 1 to 500 of influence per dollar. And it's 500 times, sometimes more reach, which is why Meta has shit ROAS, because you only get clicks on 3% of that traffic. But you have a huge halo effect because of 97% of the people that were influenced by that ad. So yes, you can manipulate it, but you either need to reduce spend on Meta, not good, or really increase spend on Google, which is nerve-wracking. So you have to find that fine balance and medium mix between, if I start to spend a lot more money on Google, the overlap between those are going to be expected, and we have to adjust our budgets accordingly. And sometimes that means none. So sometimes it means only Google increase it.
Would the question be then more geared towards percentages versus like specific pushes? So it's like, hey, we want to keep Meta and Google always like 80-20 or 70-30 or 50-50 or whatever the percentage split is. So it maintains that positive impact, I guess, when it comes to new customers.
Yeah, and it also depends on what the actual ad spend is too. I think that is a big portion of this. Is we look at this here, where, and this is why I say Google will wait to get those conversions. This is kind of what we're seeing here. I'm trying to spend $400 a day, but I have a high T ROAS goal because it's a really low AOV product, and we rarely ever meet that. Now, if we look at the last 30 days as an example, all of a sudden the cost went from 50, 50, 50, 60, 50. All of a sudden it popped up to 130. So it basically went from 60 to 120 in a matter of a couple of days, and then dropped down and then kind of came back. Now this is still at high spend because there's sales still going on, but then Prime Day launched and kind of kicked us in the nuts. So we're still making sales, but it's just not attributed because of Prime Day kind of thing. So that's where we kind of see the reasons here is like, I know that this is the before and this is the after. And I didn't actually adjust anything. It naturally spent double, attributed double, failed because of Prime Day, said, oh, those users aren't on Google. And then it went, oh, hey, they're coming back to Google. Let's spend and let's continue on. So my non-brand standard shopping is being heavily driven by Prime Day and by Meta. So the before and after is completely different, and it had 0 changes in this account in this last week. So when I say that your TROAS target focuses on warm traffic, that's what I mean. When I say that using a high TROAS target will favor warm traffic, again, that's what I mean. Even forget your brand campaign, forget your PMax, forget your demand gen. The campaigns you thought were safe and isolated are being steered by your other external traffic sources more than maybe what you even thought of, or maybe even knew about, or maybe this is all brand new to you since today.